All right. I'm going to try to migrate away from this road and get far out enough where we'll actually find some animals. There was an afternoon rain, which I think might work in our advantage for a couple of reasons. Primarily for my own benefit, there's going to be a cooler temperature because it broke up the heat of the day. Here in Florida, we have afternoon rains, which can bring a lot of evening humidity, but it's going to cool down the temperature. Temperatures get almost to 100 degrees in the midday here where I am in Central Florida. With that being said, this is a welcomed blessing because there will be less people coming out on the trail or playing in the woods, because on Saturday and Sunday, that's when the majority of recreational hikers go out. And they disturb the animals, and they're heavy on their feet. They introduce a lot of stimuli to the animals in the area, and they're not even aware that these animals are there. So what do I have on me? I have what I typically carry, which is a 4-inch blade, fixed blade. Try to give you better lighting here. A 4-inch fixed blade, a Leatherman Wave Plus, whatever, a ferrocerium rod. This is like a 3-inch or whatever. And a backup compass, just as a reference. Secondary, make sure that if I don't trust my original wrist compass, that I can look at that and be sure that, yes, it's me that's lost, not the compass. Compass ain't broke. It's me that's lost. A AAA battery flashlight. This is I think a through night or something like that. And then on my back, on the small of my back here, I have a Helicon Tex kind of pouch. That's going to have most of the essentials that I require for just anytime I go out. It's going to have things like a water redundancy. It's actually my primary in this case because of the way that I'm choosing to carry today. Another backup for fire. I have a ferro rod in there. I have basically all 8 needs. Mosquito getting me. So food, water, shelter, fire, navigation, signaling, first aid, and medical, and then protection. Protection, I have something a little bit different today just because of the nature of some of the animals that I could encounter. But I have other things like in my pocket. I have a mosquito head net on my person. I usually wear like a high-vis one, but I have one of those in that Helicon Tex pouch. But a bandana, in this case, it's a mosquito eating at my ear. It's a like a blind. It's like a mesh material. So it's good because in the heat, it's a little bit lighter weight, but it also has some concealment properties that it will afford me. Lastly, I have some gloves because the mosquitoes are just so horrendous that it's helpful to have gloves to keep them off of you. So these are things that are they needs? Not necessarily, but is it going to make it a lot easier for you to creep up on an animal? When you're trying to observe animals, you don't want to introduce things like odors, motion, scent, and things like noises. So if I'm like getting ate up by mosquitoes and I'm out there because in the environment where hogs are going to be, there's going to be mosquitoes by the nature of it. It's going to be a lot of low-lying, swampier areas. If I can keep the mosquitoes off me so that I'm not swatting at them like this, then it's going to be introducing less of me moving, hence less scent, less odor, human odor being introduced into that area. Just because no matter how good you think you washed your clothes or, didn't use some kind of fragrance or whatever, you'd be surprised what you will be introducing into that area for things that don't normally smell that. So any kind of anything, just by whatever you ate today, is going to introduce an odor and a scent. So I need to get back on the move because these mosquitoes are just going to be swarming me. Hopefully I won't slip. Hopefully I won't slip and bust my butt because I'm wearing slick bottom shoes. So these have no tread. These are old military boots that I had laying around. I ripped off the treads, so now they are slick bottom. But walking through things like this, because they have no tread, and they're slick bottom, you have to walk a little bit more careful. Now, when I'm out tracking and stalking, that's a benefit, because what I can do is, when there's a root, I can put my foot there, and I can feel that root or that twig before I commit my weight to that. So you can see the trail behind me. I have to be really quiet because I know there's animals not far from this area. It is right before dusk. It's about an hour before dusk really starts getting going. If you walk through this kind of stuff and you're not aware of your footsteps, you're going to clue those animals up and you will never see them. Now understand, I'm not sticking to trails. I'm leaving trails in order to encounter these animals and view them. I'm not harassing them. I'm not chasing them. When they run off, I can track them and kind of practice my skills. I got to wrap up the talking here because as soon as I get a little bit closer, I'm going to have to go silent. So you may just see some video of animals, but not actually hear me narrating or anything like that. When you leave the trail, my point is, when you leave the trail and you go out and stuff like, thicker stuff, this is going to come into play a lot more. The way that you maneuver your person, the way that you breathe, the way that you introduce motion and noise and odor and all of that stuff, where you place your footsteps, all of that comes into play. So you're going to have to be aware of all of that. Even on the trail, most people even on the trail can't get that right. When they leave the trail, it's like magnified. So you have to get good at it maybe on the trail, and then come across the small amount of animals that you would see somewhere in that corridor. But then as soon as you're off that trail, it's going to matter a lot more because they can hear you coming from a further distance because the vegetation is more dense. So if I rub up against something like this palmetto here, it's going to make a lot more noise than if I just walk along this trail here. Okay, but if I go kicking roots, there's a vibration, there's a noise that's going to go out into the atmosphere here. They're going to clue into that. They're a lot more sensitive than we are. Now, if you catch them off their game and they're not used to people being there at least that day or in the recent, past, then you may still get a little bit lucky. But just count your blessings that may be the case in that situation. Got to switch hands because I'm not using any kind of walking stick or anything like that to hold this tripod or anything, but just my voice projecting is going to chase these animals off. So I really got to stop talking and just go ahead and get to it. I hope this is helping you guys. There's a whole bunch of grapevine here. I'm going to grab some of this. I'm going to crunch it up. Okay, I'm going to rub this around. This is a wild edible. It's actually completely edible. You can eat this. Okay, if you know what it is, don't misidentify it. You can even chew this up and then wipe it around on you. This won't hurt you. If you have stuff like this, that will help you. It's not going to do anything for mosquitoes, but this will be a natural scent in this area versus the human scent that I would otherwise introduce. So I can really crunch that up. Get that on things like fabrics, sweaty areas, any kind of clothing that I'm worried about, any kind of anything. I can really get that broke down and get that the chemical smell of the woods on me. Okay. I gotta keep moving because these mosquitoes are tearing me up. Okay. Get back to you in a minute. As I start to move toward them, they're gonna take off. But if I stay real still, that won't be the case. I'm moving right now, but I'm moving so slow. See, they're trying to figure me out. They can't smell me, but they can see the movement that I've made as I was passing by, and they actually saw me before I spotted them. Most people would never have seen this. They would walk right past these deer, so when the deer aren't sure whether you see them or not, they kind of stay put. See, my ankle just cracked, and that betrayed me as far as the auditory part of it. They can't hear me talking at this distance at a whisper. They have yet to move, but any second, yep, there they go. They're going to plot their course, and then they're going to take off to my right. You'll see them in just a minute. They're going to take off. There's 2 of them. There may be another one I can't see that's just out of view. Now I'm about 50 yards away. And I'm just trying to keep my eyes on them and just thinking about my foot placement. Did you hear that huff? So they cut to the right, and then they cut back to the left. And now they're out of view. Nope, still in view. They're trying to figure out where to go. Okay. If you're going out looking for animals and you're never seeing them, it's because you probably walk with really heavy feet, you're loud, you're not patient, you probably smell funny, quit wearing all that perfume. You're not going out at the right time of day, probably not in the right habitat.